wonderful listeners and viewers of Living Television, you're welcome again on this day of your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. In today's Issues of the Moment, as usual, I have a wonderful analyst in the studio who are going to do justice to the topic here. Federal government postpones student loan launch indefinitely. The federal government has postponed the launch of the Nigerian Students Scheme indefinitely. The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, Akitunde Soya, made this known on Tuesday. Former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, proposed the bill, and it was supposed to start between September and October 2023. Let's also remember that President Tinubu signed the bill to start a student's loan, but that would give interest-free loan to Nigerians for higher education in June 2023. Until today, nothing has happened. Before now, the students had jubilated and rejoiced that they were going to get loans to complete their education for those of them who are stuck halfway and those of them who had no money to start at all. After raising that hope, it was announced on Tuesday that it has been postponed indefinitely. Honorable, let me start with you. And what do we call this? When Mr. President has signed, and it was believed, raised the hope of Nigerian students, and today it is postponed indefinitely.
Well, it is called policy somersault. What it shows is that the government is weak. The government is not decisive. The government is not pro-people. Because there is another way President Tinubu could have launched himself positively into the hearts of the poor Nigerian youths and some of us older people who are still interested in going to school. But in his usual anti-people, style of governance, he has once again demonstrated that actually he just came to fulfill an ambition. He didn't want to leave that seat after 4 years or 8 years as a statesman. That he wants to leave that seat where everybody will say, God forbid, that this man, came to govern this country. That is exactly that's what then this is indicating. You can imagine all this while we've been saying, why should this government be the type that will act before they start thinking? You have to do. I want to tell you that in as much as I'm a Democrat, in as much as I'm a beneficiary and a participant, having contested election, here and followed politicians, being part of the political process and all of that, days of the military looks more, social, more interactive. Do you know that Babangida during his days, if before he brings in any policy, he will first of all put it on paper, set up a bureau. They will go out there to the public to ask them, do you want this thing to be done or not? If we're going to do it, what is your idea? What is your thoughts? Just like the two-party system stuff. He went there and sampled opinion at the end of the day. That was why we had those days of Mamsa, Jerigana, that was what made him popular, and all the rest of it. But today, what you hear is executive order. What you hear is, the president withdrew his assent. What you hear is that, the president is now, he's traveling to wherever with 1,200 people. Nobody thinks about the common man. Nobody thinks about our welfare. Nobody thinks about how do I leave a legacy that will be memorable. What do I do that people will start naming their newborn children after me? None of our leaders think that way any longer. You can imagine Goodluck Jonathan growing up as a little boy. The mother saw some leadership quality in him and named him after Nnamdi Azikiwe. Even though I'm not a fan of Azikiwe, neither am I the son of a fan of Goodluck Jonathan, because as a poor man who came from the creek where his mother paddled the boat to fish fish farming and all the rest of it, Goodluck Jonathan should have been the best story for this country, because he has seen poverty, sat with poverty, slept with poverty, and woke up with poverty. He should have been the best person to fix this country. Having been a classroom teacher that wrote on the board with chalk on blackboard, not these days when they use marker and all of that in the higher institutions. Those days when teachers, I don't know how to describe them, when their future is like hopeless. And at the end of the day, this man became president. And that, if not the strike embarked upon by ASU last time during Buhari's time, since the session of this country, the first time ASU, where he is a member, where he participated as a teacher, as a lecturer, went on strike for 6 months and he couldn't do anything.
All right, we'll get back to that.
It's unfortunate.
Comrade,
Yes.
yeah, I know you were a student, and I don't know, as a person growing up, and I'm sure you were trained by your parents, or maybe by your personal struggle, and so on. And then how did you take in the news when Buhari announced it, Tinubu announced it the first time?
Yes, I said if they succeed at doing that, that means they will be giving back to the society. Because if the persons who, when they were in the university, they had free lunch,
yep.
At least.
Yep.
Some of them did not pay for accommodation. But these days, in the contemporary times, you see that people need to pay for accommodation.
Goodluck Jonathan was a product of scholarship.
Yes, you also need to pay for feeding. Then you also take care of other welfare packages that are not even associated with academics. You have to eat because you are a human. You also dress, you are a human. You also find a roof over your head because they are basic needs. Then you also begin to do other things before you even start thinking of reading. You understand? Which, when you fail to do these ones, you cannot study. Studious life is far from achieving. Now, that has been said. I was saying that people like Bagabi Amina, when they were students or any of the persons in the cabinet, federal cabinet, they must have had access to certain facilities that are no longer available today. I said, fine. But like Honorable said, the policy implementation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have witnessed challenges and setbacks, not because they are not fine. All of us agree that subsidy.
Sorry, before you continue, it is obvious to let our viewers and those out there in the public know that when Honorable Tony talked about the military, he's not using this medium to invite the military back on set. No, he was just citing an example. So I want us to know that and clear our minds from that. Go ahead.
Yes, so the policy, somersault, like you mentioned, or if you like, miscarriage, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has offered, both subsidy removal, both the back and forth we've been having in other sectors, had to do with the fact that policies are not thought through. Before you implement something, you have to think it through. One, remember some time ago they talked about the refineries. Where are we today? Senator now Minister of State for Petroleum Resources was going about everywhere, saying promising all of us that by December, this last December, that the whole thing will come back to stream, that they will activate. So where are we today? So it simply means government doesn't think through. Now listen, when they introduced this policy, there were gaps, and we studied the policy, we identified these gaps. We said, you cannot implement this policy because they said, I think after 5 years or 6 years of graduation, the person must pay back. It's not possible. People are still looking for job after 5 years of graduation. Even those who had 2-1, even those who had drinking mass degree, 2-1, you understand? Now, that's not going to be realizable. That's number one. Then number two, we talked about the website, how future-proof and hack-proof that website will be. We talked about other things, other logistics. There are things you need to put on ground. They didn't do their arithmetic very well. They just announced the thing, and they kept saying it. Because I believe, now listen, and this is my personal opinion, the president was too fast to embrace this policy because it came from his blue-eyed boy, you understand? Whatever the policy means, howsoever it was articulated, now that you've actually presented it as a lawmaker, because he presented it as a lawmaker in 2023, when he was the speaker. Now, this administration bought into it. But what they inherited was just like, I don't know whether to say a scarecrow Nothing inside of it. So feeling it, making it to have that impact is where the problem is. You don't just announce a policy. If you're announcing this policy, how much are you bringing out? How much are you voting out? You understand? And then they started talking about shorty. So people who, if you don't have such a person, you will not be able to. A lot of
bottlenecks.
A lot of bottlenecks. So I think it's better they go back. Now they're talking about embedding vocational training into it. Many things they are even bringing now that were not part, hitherto part of the whole thing. You see that it's now beginning to expand. Even alternative education is now beginning to expand. So when you want to bring about policy, you should, like just like he said, Buriu. I remember what Babangida achieved in the 1980s. He set up what he called political Buriu. The product was the NRC and the SDP. They said a little to the left, a little to the right, to make Nigeria have ideological center in terms of policy or politics. Because all whether APC, whether BDP, there is no ideology. But NRC and SDP, their one was the left, one was the right. So there was an ideology. And he brought scholars, including Marxists, to peruse, to study and make people. So today, we don't have such things again. Nobody is saying the military should come back. We don't want to live under the military jackboot or under a decree. We want to be governed by a constitution, but the constitution that has our making, including policies that are thought through before being implemented. And that's why I said it will be hard to implement that. Now they have postponed in fact, Senegal, we don't even know when this will come up again. But I think they should go back, begin to articulate again, so that when they come out to talk about it, it should be something every person, the indigent Nigerians, first, will do what? Will be able to access. And there must be mechanisms of knowing who deserves this. You don't tell me that certain persons deserve this scholarship. There should be grading, a gradation along which it is done, tabulated to say, this person could be an orphan but is intelligent, or this person has the wherewithal but does not come from a background where the family can fund his or her education.
All right. For blaming the government for not thinking this idea is true before bringing it to the fore, and then do you think now that they have done, that is exactly what they have done, and that is why it is postponed indefinitely, so for them to go back to the drawing board? Honorable Tony.
Well, let's assume that's exactly what they want to do, but it is already a law, signed into law by the government, by the president. So what I'm talking about now is implementation. If you are going to amend it, that is an afterthought. You can go ahead and be doing that, but it is a law that must be implemented. And I want lawyers and civil society organizations to start going to court right away. Let's meet in the court and ask him why a bill signed into law should not be implemented. What are they waiting for? Do we need to launch it before it will be implemented? It's already a law. So what they have to tell us, just like you said, let it be interpreted. Let it go around in every platform, churches, mosques, communities. Let's know, so that people will know exactly how to go into it. Whether it is a project you can embark on, or whether you are sure of paying back after 5 years and all of that. So pulling it back or stopping or suspending it don't stop a law. We are not in a military government.
Yes.
We are not in a military government, I know. But what I'm trying to say is, certain things done that time was populist, for goodness sake. We had all this Constituent Assembly, Constitutional Conference, and all of that. We are all here. Why can't we Democrats, beneficiaries, politicians, have a human face, be populist, impress the people, make the people happy? You are holding our common patrimony, for goodness sake. And it cannot be a monarchical kind of government, autocratic government, a dictator, where you wake up in the morning, what you want to do tomorrow, Thursday, you wake up this morning and say, no, infinito, we're not going to do it again. No, even the military was not doing that. They consult us, for goodness sake. So they have to start implementing it now. Tinubu is not doing us any favor, even though it is his turn. We're not disputing that, but he should implement laws of the land. That particular one now, student loan scheme, is a law and must be implemented. Let people start going to court.
Okay, the comrade, looking at it, in fact, looking at generally at the Nigerians, the system, the educational system in this country, and then believing that just last month, a student, final year student at Debo State.
Sorry, Prof, do you know that suspending a law is like suspending a constitution? Do you know that?
That's it.
And it's only the military that suspends a constitution. So what are they trying to do? What are they signaling? That's what you tell them about the HF.
All right.
They have to be careful.
Yes, Nigeria is our country, and it will be better one day. So what I was talking to you just about a month ago, a final year student of Ebonyi State University committed suicide, and then this morning too, a graduate who just completed also committed a suicide, and so on. And do you think it is associated with this indefinite suspension or postponement of these students' loan?
Well, no, I cannot be fast to say that. I cannot say it's that. But then there is something about it. I'm trying to paint a scenario now. It's not, graduation is one thing. Understand? Becoming a graduate is another thing. There are people who are in the university due to the areas of field they are going. They know that they are not graduating, but they are writing their papers. They are sitting exams, but they know that they are not graduating. They are sitting exams, but they are not graduating. Because upon graduation, you know, you do clearance. Some parents can no longer afford what their children are going. At the State University, for example, some departments pay over 200,000, some people pay 200,000, and you have a parent or parents who are civil servants or teachers who are even old.
And when somebody graduates as a medical doctor or a nurse, you now detect for him, we have to operate and not operate. Where you didn't contribute anyone naira.
So you begin to tell me now, when they graduate, they are looking for way to Japan. I went to one institution. I won't mention the name of that institution. I walked into that institution. What I saw at the garbage was this slip from bets, from betting firms. And I was asking, they say virtually even the female students are into betting, and they call it youth empowerment. These are people who are supposed to be trained to have symposia, to have a lot of things. In a little situation where I also run commentaries, we were laughing about it, but then I told them it's not something funny. A graduate of mass communication could not write a memo. Could not write a memo. You understand? Could not write a memo. So one of the things government had done is to recognize education, in fact to underfund education, making education no longer fit for purpose in the 21st century. It's not just about scholarship or loan. The quality we are also is also a huge challenge. So someone may graduate and take their life because they are not sure of what the future holds. We watched here where someone, whether it was simulation, whether he was acting, or whether he was, as they say it now, creating content, want his credentials, his documents. He said for over 6 years.
9 years.
9 years, they will not give him, those credentials are not giving him any job. That
I was employed by a classmate in primary school.
Yes, who dropped out in secondary school, primary school.
Primary school.
Employed him and gave him means of livelihood. Now it takes us back to something. Is it only the student loan that had been a policy of government that has failed to figure that today? No, we have the UBE. By virtue of UBE, universal basic education, it simply means every child born in Nigeria should have access to education from primary 1 to JS3. That's the basic education in Nigeria. Primary 1 to JS3. Now, there are children whose parents, Honorable did justice to it. I shouldn't even flog the dead horse. He did justice to it. You see, if you don't have money, your child cannot go to school, including public school. So whether the president is calling it loan scheme or whatever, it has to be clear, it has to be watered down, and it has to be accessible. It has to be something tangible, not something existing on paper. We've lived many, in fact, I don't talk about Nigeria, I get worried. From now we're talking about ASU. Sanu and rest of them are threatening to go on strike if they have not commenced, if they have not begun, as at yesterday. So what is there? You are giving somebody loan to pass through tertiary institutions that are possibly underfunded. Do you know how much Harvard, the Nigerian lecturers were so kind, they were looking for about 1.3 trillion naira intervention fund. Do you know how much Harvard alone? I'm not talking about other direction of I'm saying the one they call endowment. People in Nigeria, we have people who our politicians are not helping us. We have wicked class of elites. Just see what happened at the burial of Kwigwe. Politicians turned burial
of a young man, wife and son.
They turned it to barbs trading activity, where they were trading barbs. Something that called for reflection. That's the kind of people
they are supermen. They won't die.
They have. Now listen, in America, eczema is a name of a disease. Why? Because someone suffered that condition. People will their resources, their wealth, to institutions, say, carry out researches when we are there on this condition that we suffered. Example is a name of an individual. All these diseases are people's name. They begin to carry out research using that endowment. The money Harvard gets a loan for endowment, no Nigerian university gets it in terms of both revenue and whatever. But our people are busy sending their children abroad, and then Tinubu and the rest of them having run down the education sector here, going lecturers, no facilities. I have a friend of mine who made first class in chemistry. He went to Netherlands, University, to study. He couldn't use facilities in the laboratory because those things were far sophisticated than what he had been exposed to. He couldn't run a lab analysis, and they had to give him a crash program to understand what did they implement. In Nigeria, people are using stove instead of Bunsen burner. It's not funny. We are using alternative chemicals instead of the real ones, instead of the real reagents. I'm not even a science student, so we've underfunded university, and you are giving loan for people, the poor ones, to also attend here, where your children are schooling. But we are not serious here.
All right, remember, before we go, remember, there was one of the National Assembly members proposed a bill saying that at least any president from Senate should be at least a graduate. And how was it dismissed at the floor of the House? In fact, he was almost thrown out of the House because of that. And then there was a time also we discussed here and said, I think it would be proper if the president, now those of them in power, these state actors should not send their children abroad. They should study here in Nigeria, where we have a university.
That was one thing about Jonathan. His children were here.
Good. Now, the idea of underfunding this our educational system and so on is because they have their children out there, and so on. But talking about this, I think this student loan should have been a wonderful assistance.
I will tell you something. There was no student loan. Prof, Honorable knows it was in their time. There was no student loan when people from South Africa and Egypt were coming to Soka to study.
Yeah.
My maths teacher back in the days, an Indian.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, the family lived in my village in Olu, an Indian.
An Indian came to teach here.
Can you imagine that?
They were coming to teach here, even from Britain. We used to have Center for African Studies at Soka. And when you have such institutions, you see, neither will appreciate. Education will contribute to forex liquidity, problem solving. Why? Because those who are coming are going to live here. Why? They will be also contributing to the economy here. They will be changing dollar to naira instead of changing naira to the dollar. But we are not thinking like that. Because of Ibadan, we used to have the historical school where you have the Baby Yoku, the Omokadikes, and the rest of them. They were able to support Africa. People were coming from Egypt to pay, to study, to carry out research. Today, our people are going to during apartheid. South Africans came here to study.
Thabo Mbeki lived there.
Thabo Mbeki lived there. So
number of them.
Fortunately, our people are now going abroad.
South Africa is fine. What about Ghanaians?
Even
that was there was this. So where do you see Ghanaians there now today?
Honorable,
are they anywhere?
They said a school in Niger will give you, will award you.
But the Republic here, one young man came here and defrauded our bayouts, and today he's super rich.
I know.
At the Venus Hotel.
Yes, I
was organizing some fake matriculation and all the rest of it. I quarreled with him.
So it's unfortunate.
Even a victim.
All right, wonderful viewers, that's the much we're going to take again today from you, Tony, Honorable Tony Abanyem. Let's have a final take on this student loans postponement indefinitely.
Well, what I'm saying is, I said it earlier, that people should start going to court. I'll start consulting my lawyers too. That this is a law. In a democratic setting, you don't suspend a law. If you suspend the law, what you're trying to tell us is that you are a dictator. It is only the military, the khaki boys, that can suspend the constitution, and the constitution is the law. So this is a law passed, a bill passed into law. What is required now is implementation. It has been signed. Implementation. So let President Tinubu go ahead and start the implementation of that very law. And if there is any amendment, that can follow. If he starts suspending laws and it worked, nobody went to court, nobody challenged it, no protest, I want to tell you, it is sending a wrong signal. And I won't tell you what the signal is.
All right, comrade.
I think I am to lend more credence to what Honorable has said here. Yes, if at all there had been a legislative input in the law where the lawmakers are saying this law cannot go or this one, I would have understood better. So okay, the president they should give back the law to him to work on. But I think it simply shows one thing, that the policy was not thought through. It is simple, and that when they were articulating it, they didn't even understand what they were even talking about. Just like you have the refinery. No, it's not funny. They kept promising us last year about refineries coming back to life. More refineries that they will do this, that they will ship first consignment, that they will do this one, that by this time that the fuel scarcity problem will be reduced to the very minimum. That by this time they will be doing this, that 999, that the refineries will be coming back on stream, that they will trigger it, but where are we today? Nobody's even talking about the refinery. Go and take this to the bank. Even that with this refinery, where Buhari performed all the jamboree, just the same thing is happening in Niger State here. We are too eager, fast to launch geometry Abapawa project without mapping out phases. And this is me. Without mapping out phases, say phase 1, this is where we are giving light first. We've achieved this. So if we succeed, or we are going to succeed,
it became a political platform anyway.
So we know for obviously what I don't want to go into now. So in Nigeria, I don't know whether we place the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. But I think just like every other Nigerian, we keep believing and we keep praying, because we are
prayer warriors.
Yeah,
praying nation.
We begin our national day with prayer. We say, Imam, come and pray for us on October 1. We open the event. When we want to close, the prelate or the bishop will come and also say prayer. And so we keep praying, and someday we will get it right. And I hope that someday we begin with President Tinubu.
All right. Wonderful viewers, I thank you for being part of today's program. From my far left is Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, we are pleased to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the pleasure.
Honorable Tony Abanyim, Democracy, we are happy also to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, our wonderful viewers, it is important to note that education is a pleasure which no misfortune can depress. At home, it is a companion. Abroad, it is an introduction. In solitude, it is a solace. So it is important, and that is one thing that concretizes the value of a man and that of a woman. So if the federal government should do something about that, just like Tony said, I think the lawyers are warming up to do what they know best. Having said that, this is your command, Chinedu Madiele. Until we come your way next time. Bye for now.